Hello friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with a story about another crazy Karen. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Karen rather not wear a mask than get $20. So my parents own a couple of fashion and beauty stores in Florida where I work as a manager. The street we're on is a pretty known street, so it's also of weird people that walk around the area. About a week ago, one of the girls that typically walk around the area knocked on the door about 6 minutes after closing. I typically wouldn't open the door, but since I knew she wasn't a threat, I opened it and said, "Sorry, ma'am, we're closed, but if you're just looking for one item, I can get it for you." She said, "Sorry, I'm not looking for anything in your store. I just wanted to know if you had a spare $20 to feed me and my son." She had a very malnutritioned son next to her, so I kind of believed her. I asked her if she wanted to come inside and I'll give her the money. Since it was about 50 degrees outside and she only had on a tank top and sweatpants, I gave her a mask to put on and she said, "Why are you handing me this?" I told her she needed a mask inside the store when she said, "No, I don't. You think I'm infected? Don't let the news brainwash you." I said, "I'm sorry, but you really need a mask to come in." She literally said, "What the F is wrong with you? Are you trying to suffocate me?" She literally started fake coughing on the door handle and then walked away. She let her kids starve because she didn't want to wear a simple mask. And our second story. I'm not going to pay for your comfort. By some universe coincidences, me and my girlfriend ended up living with another couple in a rented house to split costs. It was a big house, so each couple would have their own bathroom, bedroom, and we shared the common places like the kitchen and living room. The house was originally rented by a coworker who by the time of this story was no longer in the house anymore, but all the furniture was his and he gifted it all to me when he left. This other couple was really annoying. They would leave their dirty dishes in the sink with rotten food and only wash them until the weekend, or leaving their dog to poop all over the house. One time, the guy was cooking in torn-out shorts and his underwear was very visible. This was very uncomfortable to my girl. Anytime I talked to them about all the issues that bothered us, they used to change their habits for a few days, and then it was all the same. But the house was rented and they arrived first, so I wasn't able to kick them out. And if I tried, I was afraid of the guy since he is a bad-tempered a-hole. The last straw was this summer. It was really hot, and this B-turd liked the AC at full blast day and night, even when they weren't home. And if I turned it off, they'd get mad and immediately turn it on after telling me how they couldn't sleep without the AC at max. Okay, I did my best to wear a hoodie and sleep with my winter clothes in the middle of the effing summer inside the house, just so they'd be comfortable and for the sake of saving a few bucks in rent money. And of course, the inevitable happened. The electric bill came and it was 4 times higher than usual, and it was a lot. So I talked to them about how their use of the electricity was out of control and why we should split the bill 25-75 since me and my girl are almost never home. It turned into a huge fight, and his only argument was that we used all the electricity, so we should pay the same. He wouldn't listen to my arguments, and there was nothing I could do. I ended up paying the same amount. After this B-turd and his girlfriend made me pay for their comfort, they started doing a lot of passive-aggressive stuff like throwing out my unspoiled food while they would leave their rotten food on my fridge or using their TV at the highest volume while I tried to sleep. I get up really early to exercise before work, so I go to sleep really early. And a lot of things like that in a very childish manner. In addition to still leaving on every kind of electrical device in the house while they were out, they knew I had to get out of that house. There was no money saving anymore due to the high cost of the bills, so me and my girlfriend started to look for a place for only the 2 of us and our 2 rescued dogs. We found an affordable and comfortable house with plenty of room for our dogs, so we pulled the trigger. We talked to the owner of the previous house about us leaving, and he had no problem at all, so it was all set. We waited until the other couple were out of town for the weekend and took every last thing we owned out of that house and moved out. I left them without any furniture. I mean, no stove, no microwave, not even a table to eat on. I left my keys at the entrance of the bedroom door and a note that said, "We couldn't hear your attitudes anymore, so we left with our belongings. Have a nice life wasting your own money. OP." The owner of the house, which became a very good friend of mine later, told me they told him how I took out all their belongings, He knew they were mine and told them. I wish I was there to look at their faces. Have fun eating fast food on the floor, a-holes. Hope you left the air conditioning on and the windows open on your way out. And our next story. GM tells me that my performance wasn't up to scratch. Well, 1 month ago today, GM pulls me into his office to tell me that my foreman thinks I'm too slow, that I'm not picking up techniques quickly enough, and that I don't really seem excited enough to work in a warehouse, that I make too many mistakes, and that he's not going to keep me on the other end of my probation at this rate. Then finished it off with, "Mate, you need to sort it out or get another job." So I explained that I've never been late once, never called in sick, I treat everybody with respect, I always finish all my work and make sure my bay is clean, then help other people finish theirs. He interrupts and tells me F bay is the easiest bay, which turns into a conversation where he threatens to put me in the most dangerous and difficult bay. I say that I've been known to occasionally pull the wrong length out, but that I've seen other people completely load trucks with the wrong stock. I tell them that my bay is hands down the cleanest bay in the warehouse, which is apparently the cleanest warehouse owned by that company. So I think, F it, my foremen are jokers and take very little seriously. One of them likely said something as a joke that the GM took seriously, and a little conversation will sort it out. I pull the foreman for that week to the side and explain the situation, and he says, "I want you on the crew, mate. I think you're a good lad." So I figure it's probably the other guy anyway. His jokes are usually of the "you're crap and I'm the best" variety, so it'd make sense. So I plan to ask him the next day at shift changeover. Then I get there the next day, and the first thing I hear is my bay took 3 men, including the GM himself, 40 minutes to clean, and the GM is pissed, which got a genuine good laugh out of me. Turned out they were completely serious. I completely forgot about talking to the other foreman and asked the guys who cleaned my bay about it. They told me it was already clean and they had to lay on the floor and reach underneath stacks of steel to pull out loose pieces of paper and whatever they could find. About an hour into my shift, I'm PO'd and the GM comes to rub it in my face. I mentioned that I performed a lift in eBay earlier that day and 4 pieces of loose banding, which are slash, stab, and tripping hazards, fell off it. The point that why walk past every bay with actual hazards in them to clean my bay, which had 0? The sociopath gives me this little crap-eating grin, shrugs and says, "Yeah," which had a bully's "what you gonna do about it" vibe to it. That's when the penny dropped. I'd heard about him effing with people for the sake of it, and right now he can F with me for a month, then use it as an excuse to extend my probation, keeping me on literally the bare minimum they can legally pay me for another 6 months. So I put on my poker face to not give him the satisfaction, and any complaint is met with a pretty blank, "okay." So for the months just gone, I spotted every mistake coming from the office. Usually we just cross things out and correct them, because the guys in the office don't have a clue. But if I see a 125 by 65 millimeter at 11.3 MCH, I know what and where it is without needing the rest of the sheet. I haven't made a single mistake for the month. They're a regular occurrence for everybody. You're told they don't matter unless they leave the warehouse. That is, except, of course, for the GM, apparently. The office had made about 2 to 3 a day, which I've taken to the GM personally to have corrected. I'm teaching my foreman tricks that he didn't know. Literally 3 days out of 5, I taught him something. My bay is insanely clean, to the point that I'd argue I clearly must have been wasting time to get it that clean. I've been getting friendly with the director of the company. He's actually a really nice guy, it turns out. But basically, my performance has been not just the great performance they usually get from me. They've gotten such an amazing performance that it's absurd. The last I was told was that I'm going to be fired today, or that I'd better get another job or sort out my performance. Well, before the pandemic, I happened to be a pretty decent bartender/manager. I've just landed, hands down, the best job of my career. I'm going to be head bartender at a 4-star hotel spa and gold course with marble columns and a driveway with a flower feature, a waterfall, and a view of the giant grounds just on the driveway. Not all my fingers bend like they used to. My toes have corns between them. My back and one of my shoulders are in constant pain, and I've got 2 new scars from 6 months in that crap hole, including what I call the 1.5T punch to the stomach I took. And I swear, I've had a bad stomach every day. So I did sort my performance out. I did get another job, and I did quit through HR with no notice and reported the a-hole for bullying. And our last story. Drill sergeant finishes doing the push-ups himself. Please don't ask me for specifics, since I hear it only when my father and uncle are a bit drunk already. It happened when the generation of my parents were still in college or just out of it, so late 80s, early 90s. There was a mandatory military service at the time, but you couldn't do it if you went to college. You still had to do some training, but it was mostly theoretical, light physical training and weapon handling. Here comes my uncle. Because of his studies, he lost a lot of weight and looked more like a new recruit rather than someone who just finished 5 years of college. This is important because during training, if you had 5+ years degree, you were given the lowest officer rank. He was casually walking when a drill sergeant, thinking he was one of his new recruits who was lost, and started screaming at him and ordered him to get on the ground and do push-ups. My uncle just sighed and turned around, showing his rank with a smile, and said, "Now that you wasted my time, how about you get on your face and give me 20? Must have been very satisfying to give a drill sergeant such a command, with reasonable cause. Thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.